Hello and welcome to another vlog from Ginger on Travelling Coffee Cup. Today's vlog is about an event that took place on the 24th of March 2015. The day this vlog comes out on YouTube is the 24th of March 2021, so it happened 6 years ago when this video comes out. The event in question happened in the French Alps and involved a Airbus A321, which is rather similar to this Airbus A320 that I'm going to put on the screen now, and was run by a subsidiary of the German national flag carrier Lufthansa. I'm going to put a picture of one of their planes up now. The subsidiary in question was the airline known as Germanwings. The flight number for this flight was flight number 9525. Now, this flight was a normal flight that Germanwings ran. In fact, the plane done the flight from Dusseldorf to Barcelona, and the flight back was meant to be Barcelona to Dusseldorf with no issues. And it left Barcelona Alpra Airport at 10:01 CET, or Central European Time. And it should arrive back in Dusseldorf at around 11:35 CET. The flight never made it to Dusseldorf. Flight 9525 slammed into the French Alps, just northwest of Nice. All 150 souls on board were killed. The impact was that heavy that a seismograph in the seismology department in Grenoble registered it. It was a seismic event. Now, an Airbus A321, this Airbus A321 was around 24 years old at the time of the crash, and it had no major issues. And the flight had been completely routine. So what can cause a plane to behave normally for 40 to 45 minutes before slamming into the French Alps? Well, today's vlog is going to go through the horrific events that happened on board that plane. This flight left Barcelona at 10:01 CET and was due to land in Dusseldorf about an hour and 40 minutes later. And as I previously said, crashed into the French Alps, just northwest of Nice. Now, when a plane goes down in French territory and involves the Germans, the French and the German investigators are going to look into this plane and go, how has this happened? And probably there's going to be a number of avenues they're going to investigate. Terrorism, mechanical fault, act of God, possibly, or probably the most chilling would be a pilot murder-suicide. Now, when this plane came down, because of how high, it was about 6,000 feet up in the French Alps. It's not an easy place to get to. They had to find the black boxes of this plane. And I know they use the term black box, but it's a massive orange rectangle with a white stripe on it, and there's two of them. Most, if not all, commercial airliners have these things on. So everything that's said in the cockpit, everything that happens on board the plane mechanically is registered in these black boxes. But this plane's hit a mountain. It's not. They're going to be scattered. They're going to be bashed. But these things are designed to withstand an impact. They find one relatively quick, and then find the other. When they listen to the CVR or the cockpit voice recorder, what's heard on there is probably something I wouldn't want anyone watching this video or anyone that I know to go through or to experience. And it quickly becomes obvious which one of these it was. Now, when the plane left Barcelona Airport Airport, everything was as it should be, everything was fine. The captain and the first officer are flying this plane from Spain up to Dusseldorf. The first officer, Andres Lubitz, is flying the plane while the captain's talking to air traffic control, and everything's going along just fine. They go through the flight path, trajectory, altitude, everything. And when they listen to the cockpit voice recorder, Andres Lubitz's answers become quite curt, quite short, quite defensive when talk of the landing takes place. Now, why would that be the case? Why would the first officer of a plane give those type of answers when the landing's being discussed? Doesn't make any sense. But the captain takes no action. He's just like, okay, he wants to fly the plane. Fine. So, about 30 minutes in, the captain says to First Officer Lubitz, "Oh, I didn't go to the toilet in Barcelona. Do you mind if I go now?" Or some words to that effect. And Andres Lubitz's reply is, "If you want to go now, go now. There's nothing much going on here. We're just flying up to Dusseldorf. Nothing wrong there." The captain leaves the flight deck and dutifully closes the cockpit door. Now, First Officer Lubitz is alone in the cockpit of this Airbus A321. What Andres Lubitz does next is start the chilling chain of events. He changes the autopilot's altimeter from its cruising altitude of 38,000 feet to 100 feet. So you're going from up here to about here, plane-wise. Why would you do that? Why? We'll never know. Marseille air traffic control spot this. Now, the reason that the Spanish aren't taking notice of this more than the French are is because he's now crossed over the air traffic control border between France and Spain. The second he goes into France airspace, it's up to the French to deal with. And the French air traffic controller dutifully radios Germanwings and goes, what altitude are you allowed to fly at? No response. And he radios Andres Lubitz 5 times. No response. Okay, plane's not talking to you. There could be a problem with the radio, there could be my not tuned in or whatever. Numerous reasons. So your next option is, well, he's not the only plane flying above us right now, is he? So get other planes to radio him. So they try other planes to radio into this Germanwings flight deck. No reply. So the first officer's not replying to air traffic control or other planes. There's something seriously wrong on that flight deck. Now, the captain of the Germanwings flight comes out of the toilet and must have realised the plane's doing this. So, he dutifully, and the captain has a code, because the door is a cockpit door. You know, not every Tom, Dick and Harry is allowed in there. And he puts the code in to the door to let him in. Now, the flight deck has the last say on if that code is accepted or not. They can either say accept, wait, decline. Which option do you think Andres Lubitz took? Decline. So now, the captain of that plane can't get in the flight deck, and the plane's going down. Now, I can't imagine what was going through that captain's mind. The first officer he's flown down from Düsseldorf to Barcelona with, and on the way back up again, will now not let him in to the flight deck of his aircraft. He shouts to the cockpit door, "Open the damn door. For God's sake, open the door." Andreas Lubitz's breathing on the cockpit voice recorder doesn't change. He stays as cold as ice and as cool as a cucumber. He has no intention of letting that captain back in that flight deck. He's not going to let him in. What they hear next on the cockpit voice recorder, I think, is probably harder to believe than anything else. What the captain does after shouting through this door is he tries to get through on the intercom system. Still not replying. Following that, he gets the aircraft's crash axe out of its compartment on the plane and then proceeds. He's hitting this door 5 times in the space of 1 minute. Now, this door that he's hitting isn't just a normal door. This door is reinforced with steel, Kevlar. It's designed to basically stand up to a grenade, apparently. The reason why this door is designed to take that punishment is because of an event that happened 14 years earlier. That event in question, September the 11th, 2001, when 4 planes had their cockpits breached and the terrorists used them to fly into buildings. Now, that captain must have known at that point he's not getting through that door. He's not getting into that cockpit. All the while, Andres Lubitz, his breathing doesn't change. His attitude doesn't change. He doesn't snap out of it and wonder what he's doing. Bear in mind, he's got alarms, bells going off, saying too low, terrain, too low, terrain, pull up, like a plane is designed to alert this pilot, this plane's going down, take it upwards. But he doesn't. It loses radar contact at 10:41 CET. It slams into the French Alps probably 30 seconds to a minute later. The impact is felt on the seismograph in Grenoble. The horrific end of that flight, I could not imagine. So, the investigators know how this disaster happened. It's the why that they now need to work out. Why did this first officer, competent to fly first officer, commit a murder-suicide? What was going on in his mind to make him want to do this? So, like any investigator, they took his computer, they took his laptop, they searched everything. His house was combed. So when they've done this investigation work, they find doctor's notes which say that he's dealing with depression. Now, these notes are basically scrunched up, torn up and put in a bin. Now, if these doctors are telling him he can't fly this plane, he can't do his job, then why are these doctors not telling Lufthansa? The reason they didn't tell Lufthansa is the same reason why doctors never tell people's employers what their personal problems are. Doctor-patient confidentiality. When you're a doctor, you are trusted with important information. You can't tell anyone. Even if that person is dead, you still can't tell anyone about it. So these doctors have all these notes to say he is not fit to fly. He was even given a letter to say he wasn't competent to fly because of his mental health issues by a doctor the day of that flight. But he got rid of it. He didn't tell anyone. The worst thing you can do if you've got a mental health problem is not to tell anyone, because it's just going to get worse. So, Lufthansa didn't know. Germanwings didn't know. The pilot he was flying the plane with didn't know. And when they searched his laptop, they find cockpit door security, suicide. Now, these investigators are like, well, why didn't you tell Lufthansa? Well, yes, there's the patient and doctor confidentiality agreements, but in Germany, and probably most other countries, if they'd told them, they could be prosecuted. So they're not going to tell on a patient for threatening, and being threatened with lawsuits because of it. And investigators basically said he had psychotic depression. Andreas Lubitz, on the flight going to Barcelona, it was later found, changed the altimeter on the autopilot, then put it back again. He basically planned his death. 149 other people got on that plane that morning in 2015 thinking they were going to see their relatives again and have a happy life. But unfortunately, they never got to see their relatives again. They were murdered. And the aviation world changed that day, just like it did on September the 11th. Now, in America, they have a 2-person rule. If a co-pilot or pilot leave that cockpit, either a reserve pilot or an air steward goes in that cockpit There's always two people in that cockpit. Germany at the time, Germanwings at the time, didn't follow that mantra. After the event, Air Canada changed their rules, and so did Norwegian Air. But the thing I took from this was, well, why wasn't that a thing in the first place? I mean, I know it's not something you really want to think about as an airline, but mental health is so, or security is so tight now in airports and everything like that. The one place you want more security than anywhere else is the cockpit of a plane. There should not be just one person on a flight deck. Thankfully, we've not had an incident like this since. And I hope to goodness we don't have another one. Because all those families and all those relatives lost someone that day. And I feel really sad for them. So I know I'm doing a video on it, and it's coming out on the same day, 6 years later, but for the 149/150 families that it's affected, today is a day they'd much rather, they'd remember the relative they lost, but I just hope it doesn't happen again in the future. And that is the end of today's vlog. I do hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, please like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, it really does help the channel. I hope to see you all in the next one.